time differences are so significant right now. What's up, everybody? Our time significances are so different right now that
Mm.
like you're at the beginning of your day, and man, I'm the one feeling tired right now. So
So what is it for you? What is it for you though? You late evening?
it's three in the afternoon, so it's not horrible,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
you know,
you're on that through that 3 o'clock crest. That seems to be
I'm
the
on
place
that.
for
Like,
people. That's,
yeah, I'm ready to be done. I just want to go and get
yeah,
on my bike and ride. I want to run or ride and blow the steam off the day, and
yeah,
then be able to chill.
yeah. That's the plan, man. Everyone does get that 2, 3 o'clock afternoon
Yeah.
crest where the energy just burns out, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect protocol. Go for a bike ride, go for a walk, get that active
Get it
recovery
back
stuff
on.
back in.
I know.
That's it.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. Okay, making sure yeah, there we go. I can jump in. What's up, everybody? So let's do this. Chris, first up, thanks for being here. Chris and Chris, love that.
Pleasure.
Chris McLean's my buddy from Australia. And if you're in Australia, then hey, Australians. I'm here in the States, so Chris and I are just hanging out, getting this strategy done for really dealing with our exhaustion level. And Chris, from a coaching standpoint and a performance coach, like explain just briefly what that is, because I think that's going to make the questions that I've got like way more relevant. And again, anybody's welcome to ping in questions. If you're watching live, go for it. If you're watching after live, hit up a comment in there and we'll tag Chris and make sure he can answer your questions and get that. Anyway, tell us exactly what this performance thing is all about.
So if you look at peak performance as a protocol, as a way of being, it's success, right? It's performing, just performing at our best, but also feeling our best while we're doing that. Mm-hmm. That's the essentials of it, right? We want to be able to step into whatever work we're called to do. We want to get our most important work done in a heightened state of consciousness, a focused state of awareness where we're fully present, fully capable. We're bringing all of our resource into that moment, into that task, into that whatever we're doing. We want to bring all of our resource into that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That gives us that peak performance edge. So rather than working on 1,000 things at once, having all our browser tabs open, being distracted by phones and people and conversations and all this stuff going on that we have in this crazy full-on 21st century world that we exist and try to live in, if we can reduce that down, reduce that noise, limit that sort of signal to noise ratio, get right into, I'm doing this thing at this time and that's what I'm focused on, the performance uptick is insane. I mean, a lot of research that's come out of a lot of really high-end research sort of comes out, 500% is kind of a baseline productivity improvement. So it's not even small.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
So they're talking 500%. So that's effectively go to work on Monday, crush your day, and take the rest of the week off. And and perform the same as steady state peers. Right. So that's if you can get this stuff dialed in and right, that's the kind of, it's not just 5, 10, 15% sort of minutia of progress. It's considerable exponential performance growth if you get some basic stuff lined up.
That's legit. Oh, by the way, Chris Anderson, welcome. We have now 3 Chris's on the call.
So Chris off.
Yeah.
Finally, so it's happening. It's happening.
So Chris McLean, you're gonna love this. on my arm right here in Sharpie marker, I've shown this to our Facebook community before. I actually have be here or do the next thing. That's my marching orders for almost every day. I'm allowed to be right here in this moment, or I can do the next thing, because when I'm done with this, I got to do the next thing. But as entrepreneurs, man, oh my gosh, I got like a million things. Where most of us are pretty ADHD too, right? So constantly out there. Okay, now it's 3 o'clock where I am. It's what, 6 a.m. where you are in Australia?
6 a.m. Yeah.
So I'm at the end of my day, 3 o'clock. Usually I'm even done by now, but we're trying to make this happen in our time zones. I'm feeling tired, dude. Like, been on a lot of calls today, taught my mastermind today, worked with my team today. How do I, is this about eating better and taking multivitamins? Is it about mindset? Where do I start just getting some traction on, man, I want to crush the next 6 hours because I got kids out there and Jill's out there. Like, I don't want to give my best to work and not give my best to my family.
Mm.
How do I turn it back on and be healthy at the same time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is. It's this sort of layering effect, right? It's this stacking effect, and the stuff you talk about is super important. Mindset is a major place to start. If you're not in sort of you would have heard the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. If you're not in that which comes out of Carol Dweck's work in her book Mindset.
What's the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset?
But a fixed mindset is this idea that I'm born with what I've got, right? It is what it is. There's nothing I can do to change who I am. It's this sort of negative, pessimistic mindset that sort of says, I've got what I've got. There's nothing I can do to change circumstances. It's sort of this, we also might refer to as this external locus of control. This locus of control is that the world happens to me. Right? Everything happens to me. I'm a victim of circumstances. I'm not directing this ship, right? I'm sort of this rudderless ship in the ocean, and it'll take me where it takes me. That's this sort of fixed mindset. Compared to the growth mindset, which probably everybody that's watching this right now, if you're entrepreneurial at all, if you're in business, you have at least some form of a growth mindset, which is I can impact my circumstance. I can change tomorrow. I can make tomorrow better. I can make the next moment better. So it's this kind of radical optimism, right? It's this radical optimism. It's this idea that I impact the world. The world happens because of me, right?
Yeah.
The life happens due to me, which is this internal locus of control. So it's me happening outwards rather than the world happening inwards. So if we can at least get that kind of mindset to begin with, then it opens up, right? The world opens up, possibility opens up. My capacity and ability to deal with negative circumstances in the world, or stress or overwhelm, or having a shitty day, or feeling a bit tired. If I've got that growth mindset, that's the first thing that's one of the things that's going to sort of help me pull through that and go, I know I'm tired. That's okay. This happens. Let me get into the next moment. How can I change this? How can I make this better? Rather than going, well, I'm tired. Well, I'll just throw it in. There's no point. I'll go eat a donut, sit on the couch and watch some Netflix because it's been a shit day. So I might as well just devolve it into an even worse day, right? Because there's nothing I can do about it.
But donuts and Netflix are a great choice, man. That's a good go-to.
No, nothing against it. I never met a donut I didn't like.
So having a sense of control is a big piece of that, it sounds like.
Yeah, it comes down to intention, right? So it comes down to intentionality and and that's where you get that control of. I sort of talk about this idea of unintentional chaos versus intentional chaos.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just get caught up in this unintentional chaos, which is I show up in my day and the day happens, the day unravels, and I'm chasing my tail, I'm chasing the day, I'm chasing clients, I'm on this call, I'm on that call, and life, the day just kind of unravels. And when you get to 3 o'clock in that day, that's a tough day.
It is. It wears you out.
Yeah. And when it's that day, every month, every year, that's brutal. That's really difficult. And that's where burnout, right, happens really, really quickly. Our health deteriorates. Our mental health can deteriorate really quickly in that sort of situation as well, because we're just being dragged and pulled by circumstance and chance, and we're not really directing and having, as you said, having that control. And there's the opposite side of that is intention, what I like to call sort of intentional chaos, which is life's going to be, I have this sort of assumption of life's going to be chaotic either way. It's either going to be that chaos of I'm chasing the day, or a chaos of actually I'm restricting what I'm going to do, and that might piss some people off, right? I'm going to say no to a bunch of things. Yeah. I'm going to say no to staying out all night. I'm going to sleep earlier because that's important to me. I'm going to say no to just answering every single message that comes through from a client as it comes through. I'm going to batch those communications, and I'm going to reply at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And that's just how it is. So that's a chaos that's going to maybe annoy some people, but it's intentional for me, right? And that gives me that control over my day, and people kind of just get used to it eventually, right?
Yeah, completely. So, all right. So if it's 3 o'clock, 3:15 now, my time, in the afternoon. Let's say today's been a crazy day. Yeah, Chris Anderson. Yeah, this is golden. I'm getting better at all of this. Yeah, Chris, way to go, man.
Nice.
Yeah, you. Yeah. So 3 o'clock today where I am. End of the day, let's say today's been a crappy day. What are some things, like, give us like 2 or 3 points that I can write on a sticky note right now, stick on my computer, so that when I roll in tomorrow morning, I'm starting with the right intention, or I'm just pointing all of the noise in the right direction. Most of it that's just in my head. What am I going to have on my sticky note tomorrow morning that I can take notes on right now?
The best thing you can do in that case is some form of active recovery. So yoga, stretching, some qigong, some light exercise. Like I said, jump on the bike. Maybe a heavy workout, right? Might be good for some people if that really sort of gets some endorphins, anything that's going to give you that positive neurochemistry. Taking a cold shower, taking an ice bath, anything that's going to sort of trigger that autonomic nervous system, that's going to tap into flushing out. So when we're in stress, we've got a lot of norepinephrine and cortisol that sort of goes through the system. Cortisol is the stress hormone. There's a couple of different things that happen, but when we release that, we sort of essentially flush nitric oxide through the system. So when we take a bath, take a warm bath, take a cold bath, do some yoga, positive social engagement, right? Just going and hanging out with some really good mates, or hanging out with your family, spending some time throwing the ball with your kid, that positive social bonding. And positive is an important part there. Going and jumping into a sales meeting, or going and hanging out with colleagues that drain you, or getting into negative arguments, and that sort of social is going to make it worse. Positive social can really help as well. So getting that uplifting social engagement with another human being can really help, just to, again, get some oxytocin and some of that positive neurochemistry into the system. And it's all of this stuff essentially just down regulates the nervous system. So it sort of helps us switch from that.
So can I restate that real quick, just to make sure I'm catching on?
Yep.
So first up, it's positive physical and positive social. We'll say positive physical, positive social, like you said. So I'm doing something, going for a walk, getting some exercise, doing something that gets my physical body reconnected to itself and in a motion state.
Yeah.
And then being in positive social places. So if my home relationships are toxic and it's the end of a stressful day, to rejuvenate from that, I probably need to have go for a walk with a neighbor or a friend who I'm buddies with, that's just shooting the breeze, nothing heavy.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I get you. Not engaging in the political news at the end of a hard day, because that's just going to drive that anxiety.
It's the worst thing. Yeah.
Oh man, but it's so addictive, right? But yeah. Okay. So getting out, going for a walk, and hanging out or being engaged with somebody who's a positive feedback loop for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and anything that's just going to sort of flush the toxicity out of the system, right? And sort of give us that. That's why I know cold therapy, cold exposure, taking a warm bath, all that kind of stuff's really good too. It's sort of that physical component, but it gives us that stress relief. Walks in nature, just going and being out in nature is another one that's just really, really beneficial. If you're lucky enough to live by the beach or by a forest, or go walk down a mountain trail for a bit of time, or just go get some fresh air and see some vista, see some horizon line, get some sky and sun and wind in your hair, and all that kind of stuff is really, really beneficial as well. Basically, anything that you would classify as good to do, rather than the opposite. I guess the stuff not to do, which is the stuff we tend to do, is sort of on that vice side. I go and I have a drink. I have a glass of wine, which ends up being a bottle of wine. I go and order McDonald's. I get a bag of donuts. I get into, like I said, sort of toxic conversations. I go and put on the news. I binge Netflix. So any of that stuff that's sort of escapism, right? We don't want to get that escapism stuff. kind of feels like that's what we want to do. We just want to switch off. We just want to get into that escapism mode, but that's not replenishing the system. It's not giving us back what we actually need. And not saying that, like, I love me some Netflix, but there's sort of time and place for that, right? If you're drained, if you're coming off a heavy day, going and having a nice cold shower and doing a bit of a workout is going to feel a whole lot better than watching the news or just sitting and switching off. Reading's another great thing, right? And sort of start to tune what we call it, sort of the pattern recognition system. That can be a way to kick us back into tomorrow as well, and sort of start to feed new information into our brains, right? We can sort of use that downtime at the end of the day, have a bath, do some reading. That's another way that sort of just before we go to bed, it gives us some more information. And while we're sleeping, our brains can go to work connecting far-flung ideas. And then if we can come back the next day with that having gone on, we've got new connections, we've got creativity, we've got inspiration, we've maybe just connected something new with something old. We've got this novel idea now that we can translate into that new ad campaign or that thing I was trying to solve. So reading, sort of at the end of the day, taking a bath and reading, going in a sauna, sitting in a sauna for 45 minutes and reading 20, 30 pages of something, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, has a lot of double benefit. You're sort of getting that detoxing, recovery, relaxation aspect, but you're also kind of feeding that pattern recognition system. But all of this comes back to sort of what we call the flow cycle. So peak performance, that state is a flow state. That probably people would have heard of this, flow state. So a peak performance and optimal engagement state is this flow state. And flow happens in a cycle. So it's this 4-stage cycle that we want to continually move through.
Okay.
So sort of that back end of the cycle is all about recovery. And we have to have that recovery. And that, as you're saying, that can be a real sticking point for the type A hard charges, right? Which are a lot of us entrepreneurs. We just want to power, push, hustle and grind, not switch off. And that does have this felt sense of I'm crushing it, I'm working, I'm busy, I'm smashing it, I'm getting stuff done. But the actual performance drop off of that, the felt sense versus the actual performance over time is a massive gap. So that sort of stuff feels great, but particularly for hard charging type A entrepreneurial types, that recovery aspect is really, really important. And it almost becomes a grit skill, right? It becomes a diligence skill of, I don't feel like going and taking a bath, but if I do that, I'm going to bounce back to tomorrow so much more primed and ready to go. Yeah,
man, you're speaking my language on that. That is so true. A bike ride is what's next for me on my calendar after we get done talking, Chris. And awesome. Right now I'm beat and I don't want to go on a bike ride, but I know that in 45 minutes I will feel amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I've learned also, I don't know if this helps any, but tell me if this is right or wrong, Chris. I've learned that I can hit the bike ride and I can't be listening to the business book or business podcast while I'm on the bike. 45 minutes. I'm gonna go crush this business book every day, 45 minutes. But it's not the same. Like I'll probably just throw in like Queen or something like that, hit some good rock and roll and just pedal hard. And I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that depends on the purpose of, like, for me, I'll have multiple walks in the day where I take the dog out. You can somewhat see her in the shadows here somewhere. I'll take her out for multiple walks during the day, and some of those walks I'll put an audio book on and I'll listen, and I'll again kind of feed that pattern recognition system. Okay. Right, I'll get that information in. But some of those walks, for me, walking is the time that I get that expansive. I get that if it's quiet and I'm just walking and I'm kind of just out in nature with the dog, that's the time when my brain goes to work because I'm not putting extra stuff in. Mm-hmm. It's free to expand and go and do that work and solve the problems that I'm trying to solve.
Yeah.
So it's really important to give ourselves and particularly give our brains that space, because that's where creativity and inspiration and all this stuff that we really want as particularly creative agencies, advertising marketers, experts, coaches, consultants, we get paid for our thinking.
True.
So if we don't allow ourselves to create that space for thinking to happen, we're not tapping into the resource, because that's what our brain's really good at. Our brain's great at pattern recognition, connecting far-flung ideas, creativity is taking novel ideas and turning them into something useful. And if we don't give ourselves space for that, which is that unintentional day of just thinking, doing, what's next? What am I doing? Okay, I finished that thing. What have I got to do next? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to sit down. Thinking, and staying in that thinking mode. We're not allowing that space to happen. But again, that's sort of this dichotomy.
Yeah.
Sort of this duality of sort of contrarian thinking of I've got to be on, I've got to be going, thinking, and thinking through problems, thinking through my challenges. If I've got a client brief, if I've got to nail it, I've just got to sit and think, and if I think hard enough, I'll crack it. But it's actually the opposite. If you walk away from it and just sort of let it sit back in the subconscious, that's where your power is. That's how your brain likes to work. That's how your biology is programmed and best served. That's how it best serves you, right? Because this part, the thinking part, is really, really limited. We can the process, that thinking mind, the processing unit there is infinitesimally useless compared to the subconscious. Right, talking like 95% of our capacity versus sort of 5% at the frontier. The conscious memory, sort of working memory, can hold sort of between 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information at once, which is sort of why phone numbers are 7 digits long, right? So that's sort of that you can hold 7 things sort of in conscious memory at once. And in terms of it, the actual processing capacity, I think it's somewhere around, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but 120 megabits or 128 bits of information or something.
Oh, well,
and speaking to one person is about 40 bits. So if you're simultaneously listening to 2 or 3 people talking, your working memory is maxed out.
So you're not really getting anything out of it then.
Yeah, so it's a pretty limited field of vision that we have in that working conscious thinking memory. So as much as possible, we want to pass things off to the subconscious, because that's where the real powerhouse is working. But a lot of us tend to stay in that thinking. I've got to think this through. I've got to work this out. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to work. I'm going to think about it. And the more I think about it, we actually want to step back from that, switch it back, just let it drop back into that subconscious mind. And that's where going for a walk, jumping on the bike, and not having more information that I've got to think about and process coming in.
Yeah.
Just go for a walk in nature with silence, and this is where mindfulness, right, and meditation and gratitude practices are other things that kind of give us that capacity, that expansiveness of just creating space for our brains to go to work, for our biology to go to work to service.
Yeah, man, I love that. I really do. It's meaningful because it's like I live in a city, so I don't have a mountain range near me, but we do have some green spaces, obviously parks and some of those green lines, rails to trails projects. And wow, those are so meaningful to me as compared to just the city street outside my house. Just gets a little bit quieter, a little dialed back. And when I'm out running, I like to run and bike. I like to do pull-ups and push-ups, a lot of calisthenic stuff. That's kind of my workout routine.
Yeah. Those
repetitive motions are what kind of put me at ease. And I think that's more of a meditative practice when I get right down to it, is the cadence of my footfalls on the trail as I'm running it's methodical, and it helps you zone out. So tomorrow morning, it's late in the day again for me. Tomorrow morning, get in here. I got to have a practice of some sort to get me connected to my physical body again, to not let everything get tangled up in my head, just being super practical about this. I got to make sure I've got ideally somewhere in tomorrow programmed in where I can have a positive, just shoot the breeze conversation with somebody who's not needing something from me or toxic, but it's just a cool, encouraging relationship. I've got that built into a workout buddy, by the way, so that works out good for me. And then I need to have a place where I can dial back the noise and let the thinking processes happen in a space that's not me intentionally sitting down, focusing real hard and thinking about it. You know, I heard, go ahead.
Yeah. And having that spaced out through the day, ideally. And that's where breaks, like just taking a break every 45 minutes during the day is really, really important. So oscillate, because you have these biorhythms, right? So you sort of, your energy naturally peaks and troughs throughout the day. So you want to ride those waves, right? As your energy is coming up and you're sort of hitting that top end of your performance, you want to really leverage that. But then as it's dropping off, if you continue to just power through, your energy's down here, but you're trying to you sort of end up in this gray zone. So you want to recognize it. Okay, I'm peaking, which is sort of that 45 minutes. I'm dropping off. I'm bottoming out here. My energy's naturally dropping off. So you want to, again, just ride that wave and go for a walk. Take a break. Stare at a wall for 10 minutes. So to do something that's just, again, space to allow your biology to breathe a bit, and then that's going to give you, then you come back and then you can ride that wave back up again.
But staring at social media, that's not the same as staring at a wall or taking a walk?
No, terrible.
Just clarifying, because for most of us, when we have a 10-minute break, we want to go out and walk the dog, and we will walk the dog with a scrolling Instagram or Facebook feed. Yeah, I know. Okay. It's a good tip. Just making sure we're on the same page. One other thing I've done, Chris, and I don't know if this makes sense or not, I make sure my social media apps have a timeout limit. And yes, I know the passcode for the timeout limit, but I don't cheat it. I don't break it. The timeout limit at a certain time every day or evening. That way I'm not sitting there, bored trying to go to sleep. It forces me to read a book or listen to an audiobook versus, I'll just scroll Facebook for 3 hours while I'm going to sleep. Wishing I looked like someone else or was as successful as someone else or whatever negative talk typically I want to throw in there.
That stuff's pretty toxic. I mean, if you just delete the apps. That's if you want to go hardcore with, if it's really an issue for you. And that's I've oscillated between on and off with that stuff. I'm generally pretty good, but it is a massive distraction, but it's also, even the possibility of going to it is also a distraction. So just knowing that Facebook is on my phone, and as you said, that I've got Facebook on my computer and I can just open the tab and go to it. So there's some really cool blocking software. One I use called Self-Control, which is a desktop app. And you literally you just set it between. You sort of set the hours that it allows you to access certain URLs, and you can just put in Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, put in all the stuff that you don't want to access, set it on a time limit, and then you can't even turn that one off. It won't let you get into those apps until the time comes where you say, okay, I'm going to check everything at lunchtime. So 1 o'clock, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to do 25 minutes. I'm going to check everything, and then it's back off again, and I can't access it. So if you can remove the possibility of distraction, that's massive. And as I said, just delete all the apps off of your phone. Delete all of the Facebooks and the anything that's your go-to scroll. Delete it. I mean, put it back on the weekend. Put it back on every night if you want to. But at least, particularly during your workday when you don't want it to be a distraction, just delete it off the phone. You always put it back on later. But I found that's really beneficial. If you literally if you don't have access to it, as you said, you'll go off and do something else.
That's very practical.
It stops you from the possibility of being distracted by it, because you can't access it, or it's tedious. I've got to go in, I've got to go to the app store, I've got to download it. There's a process now. So you're adding this friction between the thing that I think I want to do and having to do it. There's this friction now. So we're biologically pretty lazy. Right? We're biologically geared for energy conservation.
Yeah.
So we're putting a little bit of friction between stuff is actually a lot of the time all it takes is to stop us from doing
I
negative
love that.
habits, stuff we don't want to do. So you can put
Yeah.
a little bit of friction between it, and then sort of on the other end, you want to lubricate the stuff that you want to do. So I said, for you, maybe your bike is ready to go. You're every morning. You're going to go ride at 3 o'clock, so your bike's ready. Tires are pumped up. You do that the night before, and you put your riding gear.
Yep.
There, so at 3 o'clock, you just go. You put your gear on, and you're out. There's you're lubricating that process. You don't have to think, oh, what am I going to wear? Where are my stuff? I haven't washed my pants. I got to get my shoes. Right. So you want to lubricate the things that you want to do and put friction between yourself and the things you don't want to do.
That makes a ton of sense. That really does. Chris Anderson, you bet, man. Get after it. Good luck on your sales calls. So the bottom line for most of this is, I'm going to say like 2 or 3 things here. Be intentional. This is for me telling this to myself and for everybody listening, watching now or in the future when you replay this thing. Be intentional about taking real action to set yourself up for success, for the healing properties that are already built into your world that you can use, your own self or the ones built around you. And be intentional about shutting some things down that aren't adding power, strength, space, opportunity for real growth in your own head and your heart. Shut those. If they're taking that stuff away, shut it down. If they're adding to you, build it up. Next, definitely, this has been so beneficial in my life. Lean in on somebody like Chris here. Chris McLean's here because he's talking to us. And Chris, I really appreciate your time because you're someone who's obviously just super chill and calm. You got this thing dialed in, but bottom line is we need someone outside of our own space to tell us, hey, here's the left and right turns to make. Let's check in a week. Having a little bit of accountability, a coach, an expert, a next door neighbor, somebody who can look up from the outside and say, hey, I think you could be a little more balanced here is so helpful. How do you do this, Chris? So you work with people, I know that, but how do you take on a client? Like, what's a relevant person that should be reaching out to you? If you're like this, you should reach out to Chris. Fill in the blank.
If you're burnt out and you're struggling and your health's a problem, reach out. So I mean, this stuff applies to anybody, really. Like whether you're a high-powered executive, you're working in a company, you're running a company, you're an entrepreneur, you're a course creator. But I mean, for me right now, I work with a lot of agency owners. So creative agencies, SMMA, marketing, advertising, because that's my background. And having been through that and understanding that particular industry, I know burnout, stress, overwhelm, all of the stuff that we've been talking about doesn't get done for a lot of people in that industry. Lots of us sort of type A, hard charger types. They just want to burn. And that industry is also very much predicated on 24/7, 365, hustle, grind. If you've got to be up till 4 a.m, you're up till 4 a.m, then you're back at 6, and then you're on this deck. And so that's sort of baked into that culture. So that's a space that I've been through, and now having lived that life and then gone into understanding and researching and learning peak performance and flow states and all of this stuff, I know that it really helps in that industry. So that's where I'm very much focused.
Yeah.
But really, control is the ultimate thing. If you're out of control, you want more control, you want more calm, you want that clarity of vision. You want to know, where am I going? And I've got the confidence to know that I can get there intact, right, in my body, not disheveled, not stressed, not sick, not overwhelmed. I've got that control, that confidence, that calm, and that clarity of going where I want to go, feeling amazing, and actually performing even better than I thought I was when I was just hustling and grinding and crushing it day in, day out. I actually step back and go slower, so you go faster by going slower. It's kind of this, again, it's sort of that dichotomy. It's this weird duality. That all of the scientific evidence now, a lot of the research is saying the more we slow down and we create that space, the faster we go, because we become more effective, we become more focused, more dialed in, more exactly what we were saying right at the front of the show. The more I can do my most important tasks in a heightened state, in a peak performance state where I'm just 100% dialed in that, my phone's off, I'm not getting distracted, I'm not getting pulled away, I'm just doing that thing for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Effectiveness. I mean, we talked about 500% uptick. That's a pretty conservative number. A lot of coaching clients that come through this sort of flow state coaching, we've heard 800%, even up to sort of 3,000%, like 30x improvements if you can really dial this stuff down.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest thing is it's not a very competitive playing field, because most people out there are so distracted. Most people are getting pulled away most people get distracted every 5 to 7 minutes. And then it takes about between 11 and 15 minutes to actually come back to task. And most of us get about between 30 and 40 distractions per day.
Yeah.
So if you add all of that up, most people, your average performer, gets about just under 2 hours of actual work done every day.
Wow.
And that's in a 8, 10, 12-hour day. That's so ineffective, so inefficient, and so distracted that we're multitasking. We're jumping from this to that, then a phone call, then, as you said, scrolling the news feed, and then going for a walk while listening to audio, then coming back, and there's this task switching, and there's just complete lack of clarity. So the actual work that gets done is so minute that it's not, if you can dial in some of this stuff, the benefits are, compared to steady state peers, compared to your competitors, is massive.
You're cheating the system, and they're not even aware that you've started running the race. They're just still standing the starting blocks. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Love that. You're reminding me of truth that I know is real, that I've leaned on so much in the past, that's built our agencies and the models that we use. And it's constantly hard to stay out of the weeds and out of the distraction, out of the hustle and bustle. But when I do, wow, it's so much better. I heard Warren Buffett a while back, and he said something, the only thing I ever remember the guy saying, I know he said a lot of cool things, but he said he hires executives, leaders of his companies, to make a very few number of high-level decisions per day. That's all he wants. He doesn't want the grit and grind. He doesn't want them hustling. He doesn't want them constantly maxed out. He wants a very few number of high-quality decisions. And he knows that means they need space. They need time. They need to rejuvenate. And that's for us. We're the owners and the captains of our own ships, so to speak, as entrepreneurs. And we have to take the time to be intentional and to get our performance strategies set. Lean in on Chris. That Chris, not me, Chris. Lean in on that, Chris. I'll put a contact info at the top. Chris, what's your website? People can reach out to you and find who you are.
thechrismclean.com.
I'm going to drop that here in our Facebook chat real quick, and make sure that we get that in here, because I want to make sure people can get in touch with you, dude. I've also linked your name at the top of this post.
Sweet.
Man, thank you so much for hanging out.
Always a pleasure, man. Always really a pleasure. So we had a great chat a couple of weeks ago on my show, and now I was on the left-hand side of the screen. Now I'm over on the right. It's a bit strange, but no, it's always good, man. It's always fun. Uplifting social engagement. It's always good to chat with you. It
really is. And Chris's podcast is a great one to check out. You can find it from his website as well. But he's got a great podcast that just dives deep into these kind of strategies with lots of other industry experts. So if you want to kind of see how these strategies work for different people in different spaces, that's a great way to have that conversation and see what's going on there, because it's relevant and you'll find your way to make these strategies work for you. And this level of peak performance is real. It's not hocus pocus. It's just a matter of being disciplined enough to find someone to walk you through it and do the work to get the results.
Yeah. I mean, everything I coach is based on a scientific backing. Like, it's all empirically evidence-based, evidence-backed, scientifically proven. Yeah. Very, very rigorous. It's not hocus pocus.
Yep.
So when we talk about mindfulness, we talk about gratitude, we talk about meditation, all this kind of stuff that can have a woo-woo attachment to it. We look at what is the biology of it, right? What is the underlying biological thing that is going on? That why you want to do this thing? Why do you want to go for a walk? It's because you get this nitric oxide flush through your body. It's clearing out the cortisol. It's clearing out the stress hormones. It's flipping you from stress into relaxation.
Yeah.
It's all of that kind of stuff. So that's how we want to approach things. So we're not up in the clouds, but this is why this thing works and this is why you want to do it. And then reverse engineer that into your life to make it work for you.
Dude, you're absolutely 100% right. And I appreciate your calmness and candor and straightforwardness. You're not pitchy. You're just like, yeah, it works. Let's do it. And I respect that. I really do. Yvonne, hey, it's great to see you, Yvonne. Lots of amazing tips and strategies shared by Chris. Yeah, for real. Thanks so much, Chris. Again, Yvonne, awesome to see you. Go get it, guys. Follow the strategies. If you jumped into this one late, it's worth backing it up and replaying this one. Chris McLean is mentioned at the top of this post, and reach out to him on Facebook. I'll drop his website down here in the comments as well. And Chris, man, thanks again. It's awesome.
Pleasure as always, man. Well, I'll have to do this again sometime. It's always
Looking forward to it.
It's always a blast.
All right, bud. See you, man.
Thank you, man. Cheers.